While most MSPs are out there hunting endlessly for new clients, the smart ones know their richest opportunities lie in the fields they already own. My name's James Steele and this is Harvest, where MSPs and industry experts share proven ways to grow profitable revenue from your current customer base. No theory, no fluff, just field-tested strategies that work. Let's grow.
I like them green, yellow, and red. And the ones that are red, we need to look at those and say, do I really need to go to Starbucks? Do I really need to go to the computer store to buy computer cables? The MSP owners have to check their egos in the door and get out of their own way and have the confidence that they can delegate various tasks and trust that their staff that they've implemented or are hired to implement those tasks so that they don't have to think about that. We can differentiate ourselves through different types of service offerings, but it comes down to the relationship in the QBR. Selling is something you don't do to somebody. Selling is something you do for somebody.
Time. Who doesn't need more of that? And that's what today's episode is all about. Welcome back to Harvest. Today I'm joined by Tim Thomson, a 25-year MSP veteran. He's an ex-seven-figure owner, and now he's a sharp, straight-talking advisor to MSPs who want to scale without going completely crazy. We dug into how to claw back your time, how to ditch those low-value tasks, and how to turn relationships into long-term revenue, which has kind of been the key to his success. Honestly, this one actually hit close to home on the time front at least. Grab a notepad as always. We're going to get tactical. Let's get started. So, Tim Thomson, an absolute pleasure to have you on Harvest. I've been looking forward to this one. You have an immense amount of experience in the MSP space, and obviously you move into doing sort of advisory services and helping MSPs build their own successful businesses. But I've got a bit of a selfish reason for wanting you to come on, and that is I'm not the greatest at managing my time. And when we first spoke, you talked about buying back time, and I love this idea. So let's just get straight into that. We need to get this one done right up front. So perhaps you can tell me why buying back time is so important.
Sure. Thanks so much for having me on here. I'm super excited as well. And so as I spent 25 years in the MSP space, there's a lot of us owners were working 70, 80-hour work weeks and really didn't know how to get out of our own way, right? How to stop working in the endless cycles of effort and energy all week long. And so the mindset shift that I've been working with a coach of mine is how to buy back time and start focusing on how to work on the business instead of in the business. And so as business owners, as you come up through the ranks and you get to that X number of dollars of revenue per year, they don't want to give up control, and they think they still got to go install that server or that firewall or that switch or whatever, where you can actually learn how to buy back time, delegate out tasks, so that you can do the things that light you up or that you're supposed to focus on, right? So one of the things that I say is $1 million company is not built on $10 tasks. If you have someone that can install that server or firewall, let's figure out through a time energy audit to determine where your time is best served and where you're wasting time. Okay. And then let's get rid of those tasks that we don't want to do or we don't need to do so that we buy back a couple of hours extra per week so that we can actually focus working on the business instead of in the business.
So for someone listening to this then, so you've obviously got a structured framework for working this through, but give me just a bit of an outline then. So I'm an exhausted MSP owner and I'm thinking, you know what, I'm pretty much sure this is where I need to go, but how do I know? And there's always that sort of that fear, isn't there, of, okay, well, if I just throw loads of money at it and bring loads of people in and, suddenly all my profit's going to disappear. So how do I know I should be doing this?
Well, I guess when you're kind of stuck in what we call the pain line, and that's kind of right around that $750,000 to $1 million a year in revenue, and you can't seem to grow and you can't scale, and it doesn't matter. Creating more revenue doesn't mean it's solving more problems. I mean, we need profit solves more problems than revenue does. But if you're in that cycle and you're just working and you're not scaling as you should, that's the time to take a step back. Track every task that you do for 30 minutes, every 30 minutes throughout the course of 10 days. And highlight them green, yellow, and red. And the ones that are red, we need to look at those and say, do I really need to go to Starbucks? Do I really need to go to the computer store to buy computer cables? Do I really need to do this task, or can my assistant do that task? Which then at the end of 10 or 15 days, you get to see chunks of time that you can actually buy back so that you can implement a cybersecurity strategy or a new technology or focus on the business to get you past that next revenue goal that you have.
So what are the key offenders then? What are the main offenders when you work with MSPs and you say, right, okay, come on, it's time to get your time managed and documented? What are the things that they waste time on the most? What are the things we should start with, do you think? Or is there anything that jumps out?
It's meeting after meeting after meeting to have the same meeting, talk about the same meeting.
Yeah. Okay.
It's just like, okay, I'm going to talk my direct reports, check, tell next. So I'm going to check what they're doing, tell them what to do. And then I'll go down the line to different reports. It's like, we don't need to have 3 meetings to talk about the same thing, right? Or we don't need to drive a computer or 10 computers to a client site when we can pay for delivery to do that, right? Why are we wasting valuable time, right? If you want to learn something new and you're going to the gym, put the podcast on, right? Figure out ways to utilize that time to your advantage. As once
Could be any podcast, of course. Any podcast you like. Of course.
Yeah, or any podcast you like, yeah.
Others are available.
The MSP owners have to check their egos at the door and get out of their own way and have the confidence that they can delegate various tasks and trust that their staff that they've implemented or are hired to implement those tasks so that they don't have to think about that. They don't have to go through tickets every day. They don't have to review reports. That's what you have staff for.
Oh, yes. I think we've all experienced this pain in one form or another, whether it's a revenue ceiling or something else, but just that feeling of grinding week after week. And Tim's right. It's rarely about actually needing more revenue specifically. It's often just about where your hours are going. So if you're genuinely serious about trying to mix this up, trying to change, why not just do what Tim said? So track your time every 30 minutes for 10 days. Make it color-coded. And then actually look at that. Look at the red tasks. They need to go. So grab yourself some time. If you need to do it out of the office, maybe it's one of those things where you need to grab just an hour this weekend, get a spreadsheet and just get yourself ready to start logging your time in 30-minute chunks. I'm sure it'll reveal more than you'll expect. And also, this can really be something you can help your clients with too. And so someone listening to this will be thinking, that sounds ideal, but my staff are flat out already. I'm flat out. Everyone's just absolutely slammed. Where do I go? Where do I turn then when I think, okay, I know I should be using my time better? Is it a case of, are we talking about bringing sort of part-time virtual assistants, anything along those lines? What are we talking about? Well,
I have a template that you go in and you track your time. So it starts with you. It starts with the leadership of the group, right? Because if the leaders are running chaotic, the rest of the organization is going to run chaotic. So it kind of goes downhill, right? So as a leader, I need to evaluate where my time is being best spent and where it's not being spent well. And then I need to pass that same kind of concept down to my direct reports to have them take over areas that they feel that they can handle the most. And then ultimately they go through the time energy audit as well to really figure out where their best time is spent and then also ultimately go down through their teams.
Okay. So it's really about going through this process of taking time, ironically, just to have a look and see who's doing what and where the bottlenecks are.
The funny thing on that statement is that the owners that I talked to, this is such a great idea, but I'm just too busy to do a time energy audit.
Well, that's kind of how I'm feeling, honestly. That's what I'm thinking. I'm listening. I'm thinking this. It's one of these things where you just, you should be doing it. You should be taking this approach, but it's so hard day to day when you're absolutely slammed. But I think it's almost like maybe that's where you need a guide through it to kind of get you to sort of walk you through that process.
I know when I do it, and I try and do it every three to 6 months when I'm feeling chaotic and running, I'll go sit down and do a time energy audit for a week and I'll figure out where I'm wasting time. But you got to do it, whether it's a Saturday morning. I mean, you're still going to work 70 hour work weeks, but you're going to work on the things that matter most to scale your business, right? We don't want owners running out doing $10 tasks when they should be doing $500 tasks. That makes sense?
Yeah. It makes total sense. No, I'm totally on board with this topic, and I have one of these little pyramid timer things. It links to an app, so you say what you're doing. You flip it on a side, it tells you what you're doing. I have all sorts of weird contraptions and ideas that help me try and do the time side, management side of things. But I know how difficult it can be. Right. Listen, can I just ask you then? So let's say we've got to the point where we've freed up some time, and this show in particular is all about how we can generate more from our existing clients. So let's just say we've got the time management thing now. We've bought back some time. Where are the quick wins, would you say, within the MSPs? Maybe just in your experience or your own business. Where are the quick wins there, would you say, with the sort of the existing base? Is there any sort of low-hanging fruit you would go after once you have time on your hands?
Yeah, so that's awesome. And so one of the reasons I was successful in building my seven-figure business is I created relationships. I hired an operations manager that took all of that effort off my plate. I became the confidant and the trusted advisors and friends with all of my key customers through relationships, through coffee, through lunches, through a beer, whatever it is, doesn't matter. And I had the time to build out a relationship, truly understand what the business is doing. And then when I went into a QBR, I was ready. I knew that if there was wireless deficiencies across one of my largest customers in a certain area, nobody cares if it's Cisco or Fortinet. The point is that we now know we've identified a weakness, so we can create an opportunity out of it. And when I have time to think about it and slow down, I can then create an opportunity into QBR. And if they don't have the budget for it this year, guess what? It goes in next year's budget. And so when we get into budget season, I can then go ahead and say, these are the things we need to do. But you have to have the time and the energy to understand not only what your clients are doing, but have those relationships, to have the ideas to submit into a QBR conversation and have that trust.
Okay, so this is where it actually gets exciting. You claw back your time and suddenly you've got space to think. And what you do with that time makes or breaks the next phase of your growth. We do have a habit of always filling those gaps that we make, right? Tim's point here is gold. Use it to go deeper with your existing clients, not to just be fiddling with systems. That right there, that relationship stuff, as Tim talks about, is where you find the hidden revenue. So my advice, I guess, take one client to lunch this month. There's a good place to start. No agenda, just listen and write down one tech opportunity that would genuinely help their business, and enjoy lunch while you're there. Is that something that you sort of systemize, that relationship building? I realize it's a personal one-to-one thing, but presumably you had other team members in the business that should be doing it as well. How do you turn that into a real system that does propel the business forwards?
Great question. So I ended up hiring an account manager that would run the day-to-day activities and the weekly meetings with the clients, but I always stayed in tune with the customer. And I always had, of X number of dollars of revenue, I always had the top 20 customers in my head. I always knew their budgets because I reviewed all their budgets every year. So I always kind of knew how to build that relationship. And so as an example, one of my largest customers, as a nonprofit sporting organization, they had 350 USB drives of video of the sporting events sitting in a closet. That is invaluable. And we're talking like hockey sport here, like this is high-end stuff. They dropped one of those USB drives the day before. I was having lunch with one of my contacts, and he was saying, we dropped this USB drive. Do you know anybody that can get this data back? And I'm like, well, let's talk about it tomorrow at our lunch meeting. So out of that lunch meeting, I'm like, you guys have 60 terabytes of video across 350 USB drives. Why don't you let me put a couple of ideas together to create a storage area network to store this data in a secure location, and we don't have to worry about dropping USB drives anymore. Bang, $750,000 6 months later.
It's just having those conversations, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, it's amazing what you can uncover. But you think the key to that is just making sure you're just talking in an open, honest way.
Yeah. Well, that's why the QBRs are so important, right? The monthly reports that you deliver to your customers are important, but the QBRs are really, for me, it's like, where does success look like for the customer? But also, where are our weaknesses? Where are our challenges with the different things, right? And so, lo and behold, this USB drive dropped or died. They had the finances to do that. I'm just like, here's three options. And it's like, it could be a Chevy, a Ford, and a Toyota as an example. Doesn't care what kind of vendors they are. Doesn't matter. The point is that we put all of that data into that storage system. And then guess what happened? I said, thanks guys. This is great. Next year, I said, we're not backing that data up. It's sitting in a server room in the building. But if the building burns down, what are we going to do? Oh, well, what's your suggestion, Tim? Let me put some opportunities, ideas together. Bought the exact same one and put it in a data center 10 blocks away. So wow. I just sold $1.25 million worth of storage equipment in 2 years.
Off the back of just having a good relationship.
Because of relationships, understanding the client's needs, building trust, and thank you very much.
And that's a significant step up from a load of USB drives in a closet, isn't it? Let's be honest. Yeah, sure. That's quite a step up. Yeah. Do you think there's things that MSPs are doing, and maybe you were, that you should be monetizing that you're not? Is that an opportunity potentially?
Well, I mean, they monetize. I mean, against like if you start looking at like the CSP models with the cloud stuff, like there's different areas to generate recurring revenues through that. If there's an opportunity to monetize something, I would encourage them to do that. We used to do stuff off websites. We had obviously the Microsoft 365 stack. And so, but again, it's understanding the business needs and the business requirements to truly align technology to that. And as the trusted advisor, they're going to listen to my recommendations. I'll give them 2 or 3, but I'll ultimately potentially be selfish enough to go, okay, well, this one is more expensive and it makes a little bit more money, but it's actually the better fit. Right? So you get a little more control over that.
Let me ask you about the so you've got these great relationships, but you still have to differentiate yourself. You still to build a business that size, it's really important you're differentiating yourself to your clients so they don't go elsewhere. How do you build like a strong, we'll be talking about a brand here really, but how do you make it clear who you are and what you're about so your customers stay longer? Is there some sort of advice you can give around that?
Well, yeah. So one of the things that we're really talking about right now is how to differentiate yourself in a very commoditized market. But what I really like about with the world of AI and everything that's going on, it's changing so fast. So there's different ways that we can differentiate ourselves through different types of service offerings. But it comes down to the relationship in the QBR. It's like I can go into a QBR with a SWOT analysis and talk to my customer ABC and find out how great they're doing and where the future is in the next 3 quarters. And then I can ask and figure out where the weaknesses are against the vision of that business. And then out of that, I can come back and go, let me solve some of these problems for you, and I'll put something together and we'll see if it's in the budget, right? So you become a business advisor and a thought leader as opposed to a technology person with a tool belt that installs blinky lights.
Yeah. Which, let's be honest, that's that might be what you'd like to do, but it's not going to get you to necessarily to scale.
And again, it's a mindset shift similar to buying back your time. It's like, how do we start thinking at a business level? Because if you're sitting in a boardroom with decision makers, they don't care what version it is. They don't care if it's a Ford or a Chevy. They just want the outcome to create a better experience for the organization and grow and scale. And if you can do that, then you've done your job and you will have a customer for life.
You strike me as a man who's definitely into the efficiencies of business, and so with the whole buyback time idea.
Yeah.
Where are the other dials we can turn to be more efficient as a business? Is there anything there you think is obvious in terms of turning up that efficiency, basically standardization, maybe systemization, anything along those lines that you did?
Yeah, that's a great question. A lot of operational maturity levels that I talk to with MSPs is how do we create a playbook? How do we create a standardized playbook, standard operating procedures, right? So when you onboard a new customer, you don't need to have 3 meetings to talk about one customer on the same conversation for 3 times. So one of the things that I've been learned through one of my business coaches, like if I'm onboarding a new help desk person and I have to walk them through the PSA and the RMF and all those tools in that tech stack, why don't you just record it just like this? Record yourself doing it, do it 3 times, create the checklist, and then have somebody else in the organization run through it to make sure that whatever you've documented and how I through a loom or however we do it actually makes sense and solves that problem. So then that goes into your playbook, your SOP procedures. So every time we hire a new help desk person, here's your cell phone, here's your computer, here's the standard operating procedures, go through those and I'll check in with you at the end of the week. As opposed to having the service desk manager spend 5 hours on Monday morning, the busiest time of the week, to help onboard a new employee that can't do anything until he or she learns the whole system, right? So operating procedures from day-to-day operations are so important, right? Checklists, checks and balances, playbooks. If you can document them now, shoot a loom, it makes sense. You're going to buy back 5 hours of your service desk manager's time on Monday morning when he hired a new staff member.
I have to say, I mean, I love that idea of the standardization, the time you can save with that kind of asynchronous chat, like the Loom tools. I stop. I have to check myself up sometimes, where I'm about to just ring someone. You think, no, you're going to hemorrhage half an hour if you do that. You could just create a video, put it across, and it's really important. This is really good advice, and particularly if you're working in a remote team. Most MSPs say they don't have time to train staff properly, but then we'll go and waste hours doing the same onboarding over and over. So take advantage of technology. Looms are fantastic. Record it once, do it right, move on. If you've got a checklist and a Loom video, if you're not familiar with Loom, it's just one of these simple ways to record in your browser, get onto it. So my advice to you, next time you're explaining a system or a process, just record it. Stash the video somewhere your team can find it. That's your first playbook entry. Done. This episode is sponsored by Sales Builder, where I work. I really wanted to tell you about us because I see so many MSP sales teams buried in admin instead of talking to customers and building relationships. We help you automate your sales process with standardized product catalogs and professional proposals. Our service matrix, or the white space module, that's the bit that shows you visually where the opportunities are in your customer base, from service gaps to upcoming renewals. Everything links directly with your PSA and, of course, your distributors. If you'd like to free up your sales team's time and spot more revenue opportunities, simply connect with me on LinkedIn or head to salesbuilder.com. Let's get back to it. Tell me, so you've given us some great advice there around sort of buying back time and being more efficient and building strong relationships. If I came to you and I said, actually, Tim, you know what, I think I'm going to start an MSP. What was the absolute key to yours being so successful? Is there one thing that you would highlight, or is it one of those things? Maybe, I don't know.
It really is relationships, and I know we've been talking about it. My first customer introduced me to my next 3 customers. I was in the boardroom servicing a CEO's laptop, 6 a.m. on Tuesday morning. I knew the executives were in there every Tuesday morning. I got into the office at 6 a.m., having coffee with them, fixing their computer, and I said, hey, just by chance, does anybody know anybody over here and here? I know they're looking for help. Oh, I know the CEO and I know the CFO. They made the introductions, and I went from, I generated $1 million a year in revenue after 18 months because of those types of conversations and those relationships, right? And those individuals, it's like bottle wine at Christmas time. It's, hey, let me buy you lunch for your birthday. It's, volunteering for sporting events or things that they're putting on in their organization. And so again, it's really not hard to scale when you have the ability to go out and meet people, shake their hands, build trust. You go down to the food bank in Canada and you volunteer. Some of the most powerful people, philanthropists that are going to sit on that board, if you get to know them, guess what they're going to do? They're going to remember the thing that you're doing.
Yes. Yes.
That's it. I mean, it's literally the first $750,000 was referral based from me because it built relationships.
Yeah, I love that. Listen, so it's time for our next segment, actually. We've had our main chat, so it's time for Pass the Pitchfork.
Wait, what?
So our last guest was MSP owner Mike Parfitt from Team Metalogic over here in the UK, and he's keen to know. He's been in business a similar time to yourself, so 20 plus years, and he's interested to know, what do you think is what's next for the MSP? So how should innovators, he considers himself one of those in that group, how can they get ahead now? Would you say, what's the thing to look at?
And that's an awesome question. And as we all know, in the world of AI, there's endless possibilities. But understanding the AI frameworks to then become efficient in going into their customer base to solve those low-hanging fruit problems with AI, right? And then so everyone's really rushing to implement AI. And as whoever, I'm sure lots of people are listening, there's a whole readiness program that goes with AI. You got to prepare, understand workflows, security, data cleansing, and so on and so on. And it's one thing to go in and sell AI, but how do you truly determine the value of the AI implementation, as an example, or a piece of software that you put in, right? So there's other tools that I use through digital work analytics stuff that can actually monitor the adoption rates as well as the utilization of tools and technologies that you're implementing into your customer base. So not only are you using AI to solve a problem for a customer, but then you can capture real world data of the adoption of that technology to show the client the value if the value that they spent is the value they're getting there's money's worth. If you put a $100,000 AI solution into a team of 20 and you only have a 30% adoption rate, well, so we can determine that now, but that's a MSP thought leadership, business relationship kind of solution, right? So we talked a little bit about the world of MSP, and I call it MSP 3.0, and it's leading with thought leadership and business, you solving business solutions and solving business problems. Again, we don't care about the vendors. We care about solutions. Solutions create better outcomes. Outcomes create better experiences, and everyone's happy. So we need the MSPs to start moving through thought leadership to solve real world problems.
That's great advice. And as you say, I think if tools can help that, then that's a great place to have them intersect, really, because there's no doubt about it. It's quite daunting for many companies who've just been on a reactive basis supplying whatever it might be, tin effectively, a simple point solution. So to go in and start having those conversations is quite daunting. So looking at what tasks people are doing and the time and where that's going, that's got to be the first place to go, really, hasn't it? I would have thought once you've got past the immediate needs.
Yeah, I agree. Yep.
So, Tim, it's your turn to ask our next guest a question. So it's Brian Doyle from VCIO Toolbox. And have you got a question that's going to challenge him?
Well, I think from a CIO level, it's again, how do we create value? How do MSPs create value for their customers at a business level that still drives a technology alignment to the business needs? And again, we just kind of talked about it a little bit now, but what are those value add services that MSPs can implement to truly become that business advisor / leader for those customers?
That's a great question. You should have been hosting this, I think, maybe. I don't know. Love that one. Cheers for that.
Thank you.
Our next segment, Industry Manure. So this is where we get this is your chance to vent, Tim. So if there's anything you hear or you've heard in your 20 years of being in this space, advice-wise, whether it's at shows or amongst peers or whatever, anything you hear that you just think, no, that's just not right. That wouldn't have worked for me, and shouldn't apply to everyone for sure.
It's, you know what, the number one thing that MSPs talk about, we need more leads. We need more leads. We need more sales. We need more marketing. Our SEO is not working. Our marketing campaign sucks. What am I going to do? Right. And so we've already talked about this. We hit it at the dead horse a few times. Build relationships. But the other thing that I've been working on diligently for the last 18 months, and I know you have too, is people have to build their personal brand. People buy from people. They don't buy from companies unless they're Apple or Microsoft, right? So the reality is that I see on LinkedIn and Instagram and other social media platforms, the business owners feel that they don't need to have the proper LinkedIn profile or create content or build a brand. We're just going to stick to the old fashioned way of cold calling and SEO. Yes, you need to do all of that, but also we have to build trust. We have to be able to trust somebody that what they're saying or they're delivering on as a service level that they can believe that, right? So the average person on social media will watch you for 6 months before they buy. So the thought from an MSP leaders is really like, well, I don't need to do social media. I don't like it. It doesn't work. It's just a big platform. That's not true. Like, there's 100 million people log into LinkedIn every day. Yes, it gets a little bit spammy, but if you do it right with intentionality, credibility, accountability, and curiosity to try and help others, that'll go a long way. So it's like going to the gym. Lots of people, I go to the gym 6-7 days a week. Lots of people don't, but I've been doing it so long. Content creation and brand building, it is like, I got to get up every morning and I got my time blocked on it, but you got to do it. Whether you like it or not, whether you want to talk in front of a camera or not, you got to do that if you're going to stand out in the crowd and differentiate.
Yeah, so I guess the myth there really is that you can just throw money at new lead generation tactics, whatever, and expect that to work without that know, like, and trust.
Yeah. Well, and the good news is, like, everyone's, I don't want to spend money on marketing. Well, don't. Everyone has a camera. Everyone has a phone. Yeah, you can use ChatGPT. I mean, there's ways to do it for free. Is it easy and is it fun? No, but I've learned that skill set now. So when I'm ready to go out and outsource a lot of that stuff, I know exactly what I'm doing and what I want. So it's a mindset shift for MSPs to start thinking more around the leadership and thought leadership to how they're going to get their brand out there.
That's a brilliant point. Who knows how the future of content marketing, this kind of thing, is how it's going to look. Honestly, I mean, now's a great time to do it, to make a human connection, as you've seen with the likes of Google's, is it VO3, the video production? I mean, it's getting so lifelike now, isn't it? You can almost automate, but you can certainly automate the editing side of it and publishing. Now, we don't often talk about new lead generation on this show because, let's be honest, I don't think MSPs in general are particularly great at it. All we ever hear, though, is that we need more leads. And the uncomfortable truth is that actually MSP owners still refuse to show their face online. If that's you, it's not about, becoming an influencer. Just be findable and just be online and sound like someone worth trusting, sharing the occasional piece of advice. This week, if you haven't done it in a long time, update your LinkedIn bio to reflect what you actually do now, not what you did 5 years ago. It's a total credibility tick and it costs nothing.
Yeah. So one of the other things I just want to chunk just quickly is people need to understand selling. Selling is something you do. You don't do to somebody. Selling is something you do for somebody. And I'm selling them a business solution for them to create a better outcome, which creates a better experience for the customer, right? So when you change your mindset and think about why you're doing it for them as opposed to them, it changes the outcome of how the conversation goes through a cell chat or whatever it is that you do, right? So just something to think about.
And I think that would really help some people who still in the MSP space aren't comfortable with selling. Lots of us don't feel like they want to interrupt. So I think that's really fantastic advice. Tim, it's been brilliant to talk to you. We could go on for much, much longer, but it is time for your yell from the barn. So listen, tell us where we can get in touch with you and also what you're up to. How can you help MSPs?
Thank you very much. So yeah, I've built an MSP 7 figures. I've gotten out of it. My passion really has come back into the technology space to help coach and mentor MSPs. I've got 25 years of battle wound scars. Not all of them are good and not all of them are bad, but it's 25 years of hard knocks, bootstrapping a 7-figure company. And so my goal is to give back to the MSP community and help them grow and scale, right? And I know it's not just about sales and marketing. It's about building the foundation of a business, growing into something that you're proud of and building a legacy, right? And so whether you're at $500,000 or $5 million, there's areas that a coach and mentor of sorts can help that has actually been there and has lived through that challenge. And that's my vision, just to give back to the MSP community that's been so good to me. And if you want to find out more about me, I'm all over LinkedIn under Tim Thomson. You can find me pretty quick in Kelowna, BC, Canada. I'm on Instagram under Tim S. Thomson as well. I post business stuff there as well as personal stuff. I mean, part of your personal brand is your kids, your sports, your hockeys, your business, your life, your skills, right? So a lot of that stuff, I'm pretty active on social media. Or if you want to just reach out to me at 250-859-6294, I'd be happy to spend 30 minutes with you.
There's the relationship piece. I've never had anyone do a phone number on these things before, but that's great because that's exactly what you want, right? That's really good. Sure. Tim, thanks for letting us tap into your expertise, and I hope we get to do some more content together in the future. And congratulations on being the first Canadian. I've just realised the first Canadian on Harvest, so that's a big claim. We're gonna have to get you some sort of badge or something. I don't know.
There you go. That's good. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate it, and I always enjoy having great conversations. So thank you.
No worries. Thanks, Tim. Speak to you soon.
Thanks. Bye.
I love talking to Tim. I just get this sense when I'm talking to him that he's just ready to just go, get on to the next thing, and just make progress. And I think that comes across in the advice that he's sharing. So he's covered loads there. But honestly, it comes back to one thing, doesn't it? Your time is finite. So spend it where it actually matters. Track it, audit it, cut the red tasks, deliver fewer boxes if you're still doing that. I don't know if you will be or not, but sit down with one client and really listen to them too. So and get your LinkedIn profile updated. Oh, and stop repeating yourself. Record the process once and be done with it. None of this is particularly flashy stuff, but every bit of it is totally doable. And that's what I love about this episode. Nice and tactical. Huge thanks to you, Tim, for coming on the show. Hopefully we can do some more with you again. And I hope you guys got as much from it as I did. That is it for this episode of Harvest. If you found this useful, all the links we mentioned are in the show notes. And of course, if you enjoyed it, please do leave us a review and share it with a friend, or even better, someone else in the industry who you know would get value from it. Until next time, happy harvesting.